Dear student, a warm welcome to English literature class. Today, we are going to learn a new short story written by O. Henry. The name of the short story is Hearts and Hands. Now, before we go to the lesson, let's know about the author O. Henry. This is the author's picture. O. Henry is the pseudonym or pen name of William Sidney Potter. William Sidney Potter is his original name, his real name, and he was an American short story writer. I'm sure you have read at least one short story of his. Let's come to that later. Now, his short stories are well known for its ready wit, gentle humor, and surprise endings. Always an unexpected ending you can expect in his short story, right? And that's why it is said that there's a sting in the tail in there is a surprise ending in his short stories. And what is the meaning of a sting in the tail? You can see that idiom in your workbook. It it means that it seems good at first, but contains an unpleasant part at the end of the story. At the end, all right. Okay. Now He was born on 11th September 1862 in United States and passed away on 5th June 1910 in New York, United States. Yes. Now, these are some of his short stories. I'm sure you would have heard the popular ones, The Gift of the Magi, The Last Leaf, and The Ransom of Red Chief. I think you have learned The Ransom of Red Chief in 6th or 7th standard, right? Other short stories are The Clarion Call, The Rolling Stone. Now, all these end in a very unexpected manner. Yes. Now, let's start the lesson. I hope all of you have the textbook with you. Keep the textbook in hand. Yes. Children, before you read the textbook, I want everybody to go through the box, read the box which is given on the left hand side. That is about O. Henry, the writer, and a brief um, introduction about the story. All right, I want you to read it. You can pause the video and read that. Yes. Okay. I'll just quickly read from the second paragraph onwards. His story, Hearts and Hands, describes the chance encounter on a train between two acquaintances, Miss Fairchild and Mr. Easton. The situation turns awkward when Miss Fairchild notices that Easton is handcuffed to a grim-looking man. The man intervenes to save Easton from embarrassment and prevent the girl from discovering the truth about him. It's only through observations of their fellow passengers that the reader is made aware of the real nature of the relationship between the two men handcuffed to each other. So, the real nature of the relationship, we will come to know about it only later at the end of the story. So, there's a suspense element in this. Let's start reading the story. It's a very interesting one. As you have the textbook, I'm giving only the points in the slides. Hearts and Hands by O. Henry. This is the fourth short story in your book. At Denver, there was an influx of passengers into the coaches on the eastbound B&M Express. In one coach, there sat a very pretty young woman, dressed in elegant taste and surrounded by all the luxurious comforts of an experienced traveler. Among the newcomers were two young men, one of handsome presence with a bold, frank countenance and manner, and the other a ruffled, glum-faced person, heavily built and roughly dressed. The two were handcuffed together. Now, the story starts at Denver railway station. A train stops there and so many passengers board the train. Influx means the inward flow. The passengers flow inside the train and they are seated. Now, what's the name of the train? Its name is B&M Express. All right. And where is it heading to? It is heading towards eastern side. Okay, towards the eastern direction. Now, the spotlight is on one particular coach where a very pretty young woman is sitting. All right. And let's go to that direction along with the writer. The writer is taking us to this particular coach of B&M Express. That is a compartment in B&M Express. And the young woman is described by the author like this. She is a very pretty woman, young woman. And how is she dressed? She is dressed very elegantly, that is very gracefully. And what is she surrounded by? She's surrounded by all the luxurious comforts of an experienced traveler. When you look around her, you understand that she is an experienced traveler. She's so much used to traveling and she knows what to carry with her while traveling. All right. And all those things are there around her. Now, there are some new entrants, right? Many passengers have boarded the train from Denver. So the train has already started and two young men are looking for seat. There are no vacant seats anywhere. So they are looking for some seat and they find, okay. So how are these two young men described? One is handsome and he has a very bold, frank appearance and manner. The other one is ruffled and looks very gloomy or ill-tempered. He doesn't have a very good appearance like the other man. In contrast with the other man, this man looks very gloomy and looks ill-tempered and rough-looking, all right, heavily built, and his dressing style is also not that good. Okay, he is roughly dressed. And these two men are handcuffed. Okay, so that's why they are walking together. One cannot be parted with the other, right? So they are handcuffed. You know who are handcuffed? Only the criminals are handcuffed. All right, I hope you understood this. So in this paragraph, you should know where does the story take place, the setting of the story, the name of the train, how the woman is, the description of the woman, and how the newcomers, how they are dressed and their appearance, the difference in their appearance. One is handsome, bold, frank. The other one looks very rough, and but he's heavily built, and he looks very gloomy, right, and ill-tempered. Okay, and but both of them were handcuffed, and it indicates that uh, they are criminals. All right. Okay, let's move to the next paragraph. As they passed down the aisle of the coach, the only vacant seat offered was a reversed one facing the attractive young woman. Here the linked couple seated themselves. The young woman's glance fell upon them with a distant, swift disinterest. Then, with a lovely smile brightening her countenance and a tender pink tinging her rounded cheeks, she held out a little grey gloved hand. When she spoke, her voice, full, sweet, and deliberate, proclaimed that its owner was accustomed to speak and be heard. Okay, now here these young men are looking for a seat, and the only vacant seat they found was just opposite to the young, attractive woman. And the linked couple, why are they called as linked couple? Because they are handcuffed together. They're linked with a chain, right? So that's why they are called as linked couple. Now they sat in front of the seat in front of the young pretty woman. And now, when they sat there, the young woman just looked at them. It was just an disinterested. Somebody came and sat there. So she just looked at them and left it like that. But suddenly, her face was brightened up with a lovely smile. What's the reason for that? That not only that, there was a pink shade which spread around it on her rounded cheeks. and she held out a little grey gloved hand. Grey gloved hand means the hand covered with a grey colored glove. Okay. And she held out that for a handshake. So we understand from that action that she knows one of them, one of the young men seated there. Now she started talking. And one more thing, pink tinging, uh, you can see a pink shade on her rounded cheeks. That shows that she has blushed a little bit. Okay. And now she wants to give a handshake to one of the men. And when she spoke, the writer says that her voice was full, sweet, and deliberate. And it declared that its owner was accustomed to speak and be heard, that she should be heard. Okay, she should be heard. And you can see that there's some kind of arrogance in her voice. All right. And she speaks very confidently and she wants to be heard by the listener. Well, Mr. Easton, if you will make me speak first, I suppose I must. Don't you ever recognize old friends when you meet them in the West? Okay. Now, she initiates the conversation, and one of them is Mr. Easton. That is a young, handsome person, is Mr. Easton. Understand that. Okay. And she asked Mr. Easton, you don't recognize your old friends when you meet them in the West. So now they are in the West. Okay. And you don't recognize your old friends. So that hints that gives us a hint that they were old acquaintances. That is this young pretty woman and Mr. Easton, the handsome young man who is handcuffed. Now, what was the reaction of the younger man, the handsome young man? The younger man roused himself sharply at the sound of her voice, seemed to struggle with a slight embarrassment which he threw off instantly, and then clasped her fingers with his left hand. So, listening to the voice, when he listened to the voice, maybe oh, this is, he recognized the voice and he was awakened. Okay. But inst- at that moment, he was slightly embarrassed. He became a little nervous. Okay. When he saw the old acquaintance in front of him in this situation, when he's handcuffed, maybe that is the reason he's embarrassed, right? But the next moment itself, he just shed it off. He threw off instantly and then clasped her fingers with his left hand. So he stretched his fingers and held her uh, held her fingers tightly. Okay, with his left hand. Remember that. That should be noted. It's Miss Fairchild, he said with a smile. I'll ask you to excuse the other hand. It's otherwise engaged just at present. So you come to know that the young lady's name is Miss Fairchild, and this man recognizes the young man, handsome man. Mr. Easton recognizes her and he smiles at her and tells her, please excuse my other hand because it's already engaged. It is engaged. That means that his right hand is handcuffed. All right. I hope you understood this. Okay, let's move to the next part, next paragraph. I picked these pictures from various videos and all. So that is why you can see the change in the dresses. Okay, but bear with me. You can watch these videos on the net. It's quite interesting. You will get better understanding also. Anyway, let's continue the lesson. He slightly raised his right hand, bound at the wrist by the shining bracelet to the left one of his companion. The glad look in the girl's eyes slowly changed to a bewildered horror. The glow faded from her cheeks. Her lips parted in a vague, relaxing distress. Easton, with a little laugh, as if amused, is about to speak again when the other forestalled him. The glum-faced man had been watching the girl's countenance with veiled glances from his keen, shrewd eyes. Okay, there are so many points here. He slightly raised his right hand. Note that Mr. Easton is raising his right hand, and what could be found there? Of course, The shining bracelet. This phrase is ironical because it's not actually bracelet, right? That's why it is put in inverted commas there. It is not a bracelet, it is a handcuff. And his right hand is handcuffed with the left hand of his companion. Note this, this is very important. Now, seeing this, the girl's eyes fell on the handcuff, and all this while there was a pink tinge on her cheeks. And now suddenly it faded totally. The glow faded from her cheeks, and her eyes were full of eyes. The expression of her face totally changed. She was horrified to see the handcuff. She was horrified. Why was she horrified? Because she realized that she understood that Mr. Easton is a criminal. All right. So that is why she's horrified. Now, what was her reaction? So she became, her cheeks, the pink tinge on her cheeks faded, then her lips parted in a vague, relaxing distress. She was worried about this. She was totally worried about it. Now, what was Easton's reaction? How Easton is tackling this? Easton with a little laugh. He just gave a little laugh. He laughed and he was really amused to see the difference in her appearance. And he was about to speak, but at that moment, his companion stopped him, forestalled. He stopped him before Mr. Easton started the conversation. The glum-faced man, why he started that? Okay, because the glum-faced man, the rough-looking man, his companion was observing this fair child from the corner of his eyes. He was just looking, he was giving indirect looks, and he was very shrewd. We can understand that from these lines. He is a very shrewd person. So from his side glance, he was observing the young woman's change of appearance. And so he interrupted, and let's see, what does he say here? You will excuse me for speaking, miss, but I see you are acquainted with the marshal here. If you will ask him to speak a word for me, when we get to the pen, he will do it, and it will make things easier for me there. He's taking me to Leavenworth prison. It's 7 years for counterfeiting. So he requests the young lady, uh, saying that from your conversation, I understand that you are old acquaintances. You know, this marshal is taking me to Leavenworth prison. So I will be in the prison for 7 years because I have done counterfeiting. That is, I was involved in some illegal activities. So um, uh, please talk for me. Please talk in favor of me so that when I am in the prison, pen means prison or the cell in the prison, I will have at least some peace of mind. Okay, at least I will be taken care of. Otherwise, you know how the life in the prison is. It is horrible, isn't it? So at least I will have some kind of, he will have some kind of concern for me, right? So please talk in favor of me. That's what he wants. He intends to say. Okay, and why is he imprisoned? He is imprisoned because of counterfeiting, that is, imitating something with intent to deceive. So the intention is deception and cheating. So he has cheated. It can be forgery or it can be any other illegal activities. And so uh, I will be in prison for 7 years. So at least in the prison, I will have some concern. He will have some concern for me. So please talk in favor of me. I hope you understood this. Okay. Now, again, the girl's reaction changes. Oh, said the girl with a deep breath and returning color. So that's what you're doing out here, a marshal. Now, she's assured, okay? Um, she says she's relieved. Actually, that is why she's taking a deep breath, because all this while she was horrified seeing the handcuff, and now the pink color returns to her cheeks, and she feels happy, and she asks him, oh, you are a marshal then? She's very happy to know that Mr. Easton is Marshall, because all this while she thought that he was a criminal, right? Okay, now let's see how Mr. Easton reacts to this. He plays his role very well. My dear Miss Fairchild, said Easton calmly, I had to do something. Money has a way of taking wings unto itself. And you know it takes money to keep step with our crowd in Washington. I saw this opening in the West, and well, a marshalship isn't quite as high a position as that of ambassador. But now he tells Miss Fairchild that, yeah, of course, in order to make money, I had to do something. That is why I've taken this marshalship, the job as a marshal. And you know that to live in Washington, you need a lot of money. And to make money, when I saw an opening in the West, I came to West and started working as a marshal. This is what Miss Fairchild understands, okay, from what Mr. Easton tells. Now he tells money has a way of taking wings unto itself. See, just imagine money is a person and he has got some wings. And money doesn't stay in one place, it just keeps moving from one person to another. And you need a lot of money to live like others, right? Of the same level, on par with others, because it's a highly competitive um, place, and to live in Washington it is not easy. And to make money, when I found a source in the West, I took up this job as a marshal. Hmm? And then in the last line he tells, oh, anyway, marshalship isn't quite as high a position as that of ambassador. Okay, but let's see why he tells that. Okay, he what he means here is job of a marshal is of not as high a position as that of an ambassador's job. So ambassador is higher in position compared to a marshal. That's what he means here. Why he tells that, let's see why he tells so. The ambassador, said the girl warmly, doesn't call any more. He needn't ever have done so. You ought to know that. And so now you are one of these dashing Western heroes, and you ride and shoot and go into all kinds of dangers. That's different from the Washington life. You have been missed from the old crowd. Okay. So what does she say here? Oh, okay. The ambassador doesn't visit me anymore. He's not interested. I hope you know that, right? Isn't it? Uh, so from this we understand that there was a person among them, and maybe a common friend, or Mr. Easton anyway knows about it. And this ambassador was interested in Miss Fairchild, and uh, they were very close to each other. And but the girl says that no longer he visits me. Okay, he's no longer in my life. Okay, that's what we understand from this. So uh, she is not she doesn't have any connection with the ambassador. That's what we understand from this. Okay, and now she is lost in a fantasy world. Okay, she is lost in her own imagination. And oh, she tells that, oh, you are one of these dashing Western heroes, and you ride and shoot and go into all kinds of dangers. So here Mr. Easton is compared to a Western hero who rides, shoot, and go into all kinds of dangers, who is not scared of anything. Okay, so that's why I've given such pictures. Is compared to one such in her imagination. All right, and she says that, oh, this is a different kind of life that you are leading. Okay, not like in Washington. Hmm? And you know, in Washington's life, it's an entirely different life, isn't it? There's a lot of competition there and luxurious life, city life. But Now, anyway, you are leading entirely an entirely different life as a marshal, a very responsible person, and no longer free, right? So you have been missed from the old crowd. That is, we always miss you. Your old friends always miss you. Now, let's move on. The girl's eyes, fascinated, went back, widening a little, to rest upon the glittering handcuffs. Now, suddenly, the girl's eyes fell on the handcuff again. Okay, she's just having her own imagination. But the glum faced man observed this. Okay, that's why he tells, "Don't you worry about them, miss," said the other man. "All marshals handcuff themselves to their prisoners to keep them from getting away. Mr. Easton knows his business. So here he wants to uh, give a reassurance to Miss Fairchild that, why he's handcuffed, why Mr. Easton is handcuffed. Because, marshals always handcuff their prisoners so that they wouldn't run away. Okay. And Mr. Easton knows his business. So Miss Fairchild understands that, oh, Mr. Easton is a very responsible officer and he knows how to handle the criminals. And she feels so proud. She must be feeling very proud of him, right? Isn't it? So, all right, students. For now, I'm stopping the lesson. I'll continue the lesson in the next video. Wait for the rest of the lesson. The end is going to be quite surprising for you. So, wait for the next video. Thank you, children.